love this video. We are going to be talking about my favorite reads. My favorite reads. My 5-star reads. We're gonna do my 6-star reads, which you can probably guess because I talk about them almost every single video. We're gonna talk about my 5-star reads from mostly just this year. There's a couple like throw-ins from last year that I think are worth mentioning. I also want to throw in like my 4.75 and a couple 4.5 because I think they're incredible reads. There's just like one or two things that couldn't give me that 5-star feeling. There's kind of a lot of books on here. Like there's more books than I thought there would be. I just love books, apparently. I just love everything. I am also someone who gets violently passionate about things that I love, and so a lot of these books I'm violent about. Like I'm the type of person to where if I'm obsessed with something, you have to be obsessed with something. It is a fault of my own, I know. It like gives me anxiety and stresses me out when other people don't like things that I like as much as me. And my friends can attest to that because I get aggressive about it. Violently passionate describes me pretty well. So I've got to have my list because I feel like I'm gonna leave something out. I also don't own a couple of them because I either read them on my Kindle or, you know, whatever. Let's grab them. Oh, I'm so ready. I have all my books up now. I am ready to get violent. Who's ready? Who's with me? There's so much happening. Yeti is here for moral support. We're gonna start with my top dogs. My 6-star reads, there's only 2. It takes a lot to do a 6-star read. It has to. These are the most violent. These are the ones that I want to shove down your throat. And if anyone has anything bad to say, I instantly don't believe any of the rest of your opinions. Actually, if you don't like one of them, it's fine. Like, I get it. It's not everyone's cup of tea, so it's fine. If you don't like one of them, then we're not friends. And I just don't trust your book opinions. We're gonna start off strong. I know you're tired of hearing me talk about it. I don't care. I'm gonna keep doing it. Fourth Wing. I hate when people shit on this book. It makes no sense to me what there is to hate. Obviously, this is not like a really hard fantasy to read. It's just dragons and some powers. It's really easy to like segue into the fantasy world with this. She's a romance writer. Rebecca started in romance. This is her first fantasy. So that's heavy on the romance, which I love. I need romance in a fantasy. If there isn't any romance, I get a little bored. I don't even need to explain what it's about, I feel like, because you should know what it's about. But if you don't, War College, where you have to bond with a dragon or die, basically. You either leave the college with a dragon or you die before you graduate. And so, of course, it follows Violet. Does she or does she not bond? And Xaden. Is he or is he not hot? I can go ahead and answer that. Spoiler, he's hot. Obviously, the second one just came out. Probably also going to be a 5-star read, but not done, so I can't put it in the video yet. Fourth Wing, amazing, 6-star read. Can't say enough good things about it. So this is the questionable one. Hunting Adeline is one of the best books I've ever read. Ew, I just realized my tabs are neon green for this book. That's so not cute. This book changed me. Changed who I am at my very core. This is the second in the cat and mouse duet. Oh my gosh. Yes, it's graphic. Yes, it's a little disgusting. Okay, like clearly if you didn't like the first one, you're not even gonna read the second one. It's so much better than the first one, which the first one was a 4.75 for me. I loved it. The complaints about the first one are that it's not consensual, blah, blah, blah. He goes too far. Yes, I know that whole thing. If you don't like it, it's fine. You can skip over this part, because I'm gonna praise these books for the next 2 minutes. I love Zade. Zade Meadows and Xaden are 2 of my favorite book characters of all time. And are they both questionable? Yes. Is Zade the more questionable of the 2? Yes. I think that she took a risk writing stuff like this, and I loved it. The romance in this book, oh my god, it's such, it makes me violent. How much I love these characters. And if you're on the fence of reading or not reading them, I think you should, and if you come across a part that you don't like, just skim it, because it's worth it to get to this one for the plot. I say it from the bottom of my heart, this is a 6 out of 5 for me. It's so good. Okay, now that we got the violence out of the way, that one wasn't bad. I reeled it in a little bit. We're gonna go into my 5 stars, and I'm gonna start it off with just showing the series as a whole is 5 stars. So Hunting Adeline's the second, Haunting is the first. I gave Haunting a 4.75, and I gave Hunting a 6. So the series as a whole though is a 5-star read. This is a little novella about a character in these, which it was like, I still really enjoyed it. It's crazy, but I really enjoyed it. I love Sibby. I would die for Sibby. I think I gave this a 3.75, which look at it. For a tiny little book like this, almost a 4 star is pretty good. But series as a whole, 5 stars. I'm not gonna talk about them anymore, I promise. But do I think you should read them? Yes. All right, my only YA book that I've ever given 5 stars to, better than the movies. This is such a feel-good book. Oh my God, it is so good. There is something about little high school romances that just make me giddy. The little high school flirting, them like awkwardly dancing around their feelings. It's so cute to me and it makes me emotional reading. There's just nothing cuter than like 15, 16, 17-year-olds like trying to figure out if they love each other. This one's so fun because they talk about rom-coms a lot. Like the main character's thing with her mom is they watched a lot of rom-coms. And so every chapter starts with a cute little rom-com quote. It's just so good. It's like childhood enemies. Like they just bickered all the time to lovers. It's just the cutest little feel-good book ever and I'm obsessed with it. Okay, my favorite romance of all time, Love in Other Words. This is another where it goes back and forth, so it shows the childhood friends to lovers trope, and it shows the little awkward, like, middle school love. Oh my God. It rips my heart into pieces. It goes back and forth to show the childhood friends to lovers. It goes in present time, why they're not talking anymore. They meet up at like a wedding or something and it's their second chance romance. And it's just so done so beautifully. I've never read another Christina Lauren book. I've heard that people don't like them as much. This one is so worth it. I've read so many second chance romance books where it's like they were together in college or as kids in high school and then they stop talking for some reason and 54 years later they come back and they are trying again. And every single time I see them, the reason that they stop talking is so stupid. It'll be like he cheated and they stopped talking and then never talked for 10 years. I don't know. Those kind of things just don't feel realistic to me. The hurt in this book, I could believe. Like why she never talked to him again. It felt very believable to me. I read these last year and I want to put these in there because I believe the series as a whole is worth the read. The Deal, one of my favorite books ever. Garrett and Hannah, I would die for. This whole book, Garrett is so cutie boy, love him. Everything he does, how he takes care of Hannah, just it's so good. Especially if you read and enjoyed Icebreaker, you'll love this series. The Off-Campus series as a whole, 5-star read. You have to read all of them. They're so good. And then she also wrote the Briar U series, which I do not believe is worth the read. The Risk, which is the second one of the series, is a 5-star read for me. So The Deal and The Risk are the two favorites. These are so good. And honestly, if you don't feel like reading the full Briar U series, just read this one. It's enemies to lovers and it's so good. Oh my God, it's so good. But the rest of the series, I didn't like that much. The girls were not as enjoyable as these girls, the off-campus girls. Ugh! The off-campus girls and the boys are some of my favorite characters ever. Lastly, my last 5-star read is Hidden Pictures. Oh my God. I have never been more scared during a book than this book. I really haven't. I started it at night. I read until like 2 or 3 a.m. and had to stop reading because I was so scared. If you don't know Hidden Pictures, it's basically a girl, she gets a nanny job. She's having a hard time getting jobs because she was a drug addict. This is the first job she's been able to get. She moves into the back, like home, whatever those are called, back shed home of this family to nanny their kid. And he starts being real weird. Starts drawing pictures. They're creepy as shit. As a nanny myself, if my kids started drawing these weird pictures, I'm hightailing it out of here. Starts all cute and sweet, like he's just drawing cute pictures. Out of nowhere, he starts drawing shit like this. And it's his imaginary friend. He's like showing the nanny these pictures and she's like, what's that? Who's your little friend there? Let me find one in particular. There's a couple that I have to show you. Shows the nanny this picture. She's like, what the fuck is that? That's my imaginary friend. She sings me to sleep. She's like, we're not playing that game. Nope. The pictures get darker and it's like dragging a dead body. I was getting so scared. I'm not kidding. Burying the nanny. They start getting really dark and like clearly this like 5-year-old kid is not drawing these pictures. Like that kid didn't draw this picture. There's a huge twist at the end. It's so good. It's so captivating. Up until the very end, there's a huge twist. Twist I never saw coming. And I was just blown away by this story. I loved it. Oh my God, I almost forgot. I just skipped over The Housemaid. This was a 5-star read through and through. This was my very first Freida McFadden book and kept me on my toes start to finish. From the first page to the last page. So good. This is another like nanny type trope. I like don't want to tell you anything about this book. If you have not read it, you need to. It's one of my favorite thrillers of the entire year. I've never heard anyone talk bad about it. It's so good. Oh my God. The main character eats. She just Oh my god, she's so good. That's all I have to say. And then I don't own it because I gave it to my friend for Christmas, but One True Loves also. I'll put it here or here. One True Loves by Taylor Jenkins Reid is really good. A girl is with her high school sweetheart. They get married. He goes off and dies in a helicopter crash for work. It's basically just her navigating life, and then she she runs into her old high school like bestie who she used to work with. They used to work with her in her mom's and her parents' bookstore, and they get flirty, and then they realize they have feelings for each other. So he like helps pull her out of this despair of losing her husband, and she falls in love with him. Then guess what? Husband comes back. He made it. He went 2 years living basically on this island out at sea, trying to survive to get back to her. The thought of her is what kept him going. And he came back and she's engaged to a new man. Oh my god, I just cannot express the feelings I have for this book. The sadness. I was constantly going back and forth. I wanted it to be the high school love or the new high school bestie love. In the end, I was crying, I feel like almost every chapter. Just the quotes in this book, the love that they had for each other, the decision she had to make. Oh my god. And it ended with a happy ending. I was like, there's no way it's going to be a happy ending. It ended happy. Everyone got a happy ending. So it's worth the read. I promise. It's definitely my favorite Taylor Jenkins Reid book. That sums up my 5 stars. I want to put in my 4.75 and some 4.5. I'm going to run through them kind of quicker, except my 4.75. I have a lot to say about those because they're my books that they irk me the most because they're so close to being a 5-star read. So close. There's just 1 or 2 things that didn't give me that feeling, but they're worth it to talk about. First, and I only own one of them with me right now, A Court of Mist and Fury. My feelings for this book, oh my god, my feelings for Rysand, which I say Rysand, I do not like Rhysand, so I'm saying Rysand. My feelings for this book are so confusing, because it wants to be a 5-star read so bad for me. My problem with reading fantasies and books like this big is that I feel like I'm bound to get bored at some point. There's gotta be a little bit in the book that's gonna make me bored. And this one, it just did, just a little bit. There's like 100 pages in here, like right here, where I was bored, where it just felt like they were traveling nonstop to meet new people, introduce her to everyone, and talk about the book. I just was kind of over it. And then like once it picked up and it was amazing. And then that was the 5-star read. But I feel like I just can't give it a 5-star read if I didn't like 100 pages in the middle. But Rysand, Feyre, obsessed. I am so obsessed with Rysand. The unholy trinity. It's Zade Meadows, Xaden Ryerson, and Rysand. I love them all so much. Oh my god, they're just some of my favorite book boyfriends ever. And then my next one, I read this on my Kindle. I made a whole video about it. I'll put it right here. Manacled. I don't even know where to start with Manacled. That book changed me. That book, I don't even know, I'm speechless. That book was so good and so beautifully written. The only reason I couldn't give it 5 stars was because at the end, I wanted a different ending, which she probably did on purpose. She wanted to leave us empty, which she did. If you want my full feelings on Manacled, you go watch it. It's the one thing that I want is to buy a bound book of Manacled because of how much I love that book. If you don't know, it's the Draco Hermione fanfic, and it's so beautifully done. The feeling she evoked out of me. Never loved a book like that up until the end. For that reason, I can't give it 5 full stars. But worth the read, 100%, especially if you like Harry Potter. All right, we've gotten through 6, 5, 4.75. Those are all basically my favorite books I've ever read. These are like my honorable mentions, my 4.5 out of 5, completely worth the read, and I feel like I need to mention them. I'm going to start with all my YA books because I feel like it's harder for me to give YA books 5 stars just because they're not on the same level of writing as other books that I give 5 stars. So, The Naturals, Criminal Minds, in a book. It's cutie, it's 18, 17-year-olds flirting, and FBI cases. What else is there to love? These two, like, go hand in hand with me. They fall into the category of sob-worthy YA love stories. 1,000 Boy Kisses, it's like you know what you're getting into. You know you're gonna cry. The only reason I didn't give this one 5 stars is because they went through a time period where they were not together, and I wanted them to be together the whole book. If he had been with me, I don't know which one I like better, honestly. The love at 15 and 16 is so much different than the love romances of like 26-year-old books. It's just such a different feeling. Obviously, you're gonna rip your heart to shreds. I feel like everyone knows that these are like the sad books. There's just something about falling in love with characters alongside the characters at 15 and 16 just for something sad to happen. It just rips my heart to shreds, and I love a good cry. I love a good sad book. So these were very good. I believe this is YA. I'm not even positive. It might be new adult. I'm not sure. But Divine Rivals, so good. It didn't give me that 5-star feeling. Like, I read it immediately after Fourth Wing, so I feel like it just nothing compared to Fourth Wing. The only problem I had with it was there's a lot of war talk. This is like a historical fiction young adult fantasy. She has like this magic typewriter. They're basically writing magic letters to each other from far away. She doesn't realize who she's sending these letters to. She thinks she's writing them to her brother, but she's writing them to her work rival. My problem with this book is I wanted more tension. There was like barely any tension. It wasn't a rival to lovers or an enemies to lovers. The first like couple of chapters, sure, but then it was just like immediately into he's into her, he's going to chase her and get her. It's very cute. I just wanted more. It was missing something. I wanted more tension, I wanted a slower burn, and I wanted even more romance once we turned to romance. I feel like we turned really early and I still didn't get that much. But it left off on a cliffhanger, and I'm excited for the next book because I feel like it's going to be a lot more romance and a lot more of what I was missing in this book. Before We Were Strangers, another friends to lovers, second chance romance. Obsessed with this book, ate it up. I cried so hard in this book, I'm not even kidding. It was two college friends, met, fell in love, they separated for a reason. The reasoning why they stopped talking and never talked again in this book was like slightly less believable. It was basically just her saying I couldn't find him. In this day and age, yes, you can find him. It's kind of silly. And then I thought it was cute, like the way they ran into each other was he saw her on the train as it was like doors were closed and they were pulling off, and so he couldn't do anything about it and then had to somehow find her through the city. It was very cute. Them reconnecting is cute. Every single character, there's a plot twist at the end that just made me sob, and I just loved everything about this book. Kiss the Sky. This is in the Addicted Calloway Sister series. I will say this one is my favorite one. I gave it obviously the 4.5 because I love Rose and I love Connor, but I think the series as a whole is like on the 4 to 5. It's not a 5-star series for me. It is for a lot of people, but it's definitely worth the read. I haven't finished it yet. I'm on Hot House Flower, the one right after this, but I loved this book. I do love Lillian Lowe, but not as much as I love the Sisters story. Calloway Sisters series to me is better than the Addicted series, but obviously they all go hand in hand. Riken, what's her name? Daisy. I love Riken Daisy, so I know I'm gonna like the next one. I just haven't gotten to it yet. No Exit. I've talked about it before. It's one of the best thrillers I've read. The girl's on her way home from college. She gets stuck at a rest stop with a bunch of strangers, and she sees a little girl stuck in a van outside in a cage, so she has to get her out without alarming anyone. It's such a good book. And there's a movie. The movie isn't that good, but it's worth a watch. I want to end with Riley Sager. I love Riley Sager. I love all of his books. They're definitely not all 4 to 5-star reads for me. They're all worth the read for a thriller, fun little thriller with a twist. 2 favorites. House Across the Lake. I ate this up. The whole 99% of this book ate it up. Then there's a twist at the end. You either love or you hate the twist. I know people who hated it and it ruined the book for them. It didn't ruin it for me, but it definitely made it so I wouldn't have a 5-star read. But that being said, it's still worth the read. But this book, oh my god, this book is so good. The twists and turns in this book gave me whiplash. I wouldn't start with this one because it gives you way too high of hopes for his other books. So start with the other books, all worth the read, but end with these 2 because they're so good. But that being said, if you've read his other books and don't love them, I would still give these a chance because these are 2 very good books. Let me make sure I'm not forgetting anything. Oh my god, I didn't forget anything. So those are all my favorite books. And if you don't agree with me, I don't care. I will die for those books. I will go to my grave talking about how good these books are. But thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you being here and watching me talk about all the books I love. I can pile them all up for you if you want to see them all again, because they're all backwards. Let's just give you a last glance until I disappear. And if you disagree with me, actually, I would like to know. If there's any books that you absolutely hate, other than Haunting and Hunting Adeline, you don't have to tell me if you hate them, it's fine. If there's any books that you hate, I kind of want to know. This is getting hard. Oh my god, it's going to be perfect. All right, there's your last look. Thanks for watching. I knew it was gonna happen. Had to happen at least once.